Welcome dear students to the subject Computer Fundamentals. In the previous class we have discussed about the generations of computers and we have covered first and second generation of computers. If you have not watched that video, please go back and click on the link and watch the video so that it will be easy for you to understand the upcoming generations or the third and fourth generation computers and fifth generation computers, so that whenever we talk about the different generations we always compare the previous generations. So I hope you all have watched the previous video. If not, please watch it. So in today's class we'll discuss the one of the important advancement or the innovation that took place in the computer generations, that is integrated circuits, or we call the period almost like 1960s to 1975 or 1964 to 1975. We call this as the era of integrated circuits. So let us discuss some of the important terminologies that were used in the third generation, and also we'll discuss about the characteristics of third generation of computers. If we go back to the history, ICs, that is integrated circuits, were started in 1958, and the scientist Jack Clare actually invented this, and later on we moved on with different elements, and we started using this SSI and MSI. So what are these basically are? SSI stands for small scale integration and MSI stands for medium scale integration. So let us understand what is the actual meaning of ICs. We call it as integrated circuits. So in the earlier generations we used the vacuum tubes and transistors, and those were replaced by these integrated circuits. So what is the basic meaning of integration or integrated circuits? So these consist of different electronic components like transistors, capacitors, resistors. All together we club them, or all will be mounted on the single chip, or like you can see in this image. So these are the ICs. They come in different shapes and sizes, and if you can observe this, these are the small resistors and capacitors. All are mounted on the single chip, and they were tiny in size and compared to the vacuum tubes, and they generated very less heat compared to the earlier generations. The IC technology was also known as microelectronics technology, because we could club or we could integrate different components like resistors, capacitors, and all other small minute things into a small surface, probably like you can say 5 millimeter square. So in these chips or in this silicon material we could club all these different components. So this is what is the actual meaning of integrations. That means we can take resistors, capacitors and other devices, and we could club them and we could mount on a single small surface or a silicon chip. And the one more important thing that we can observe is in the earlier generations we used lot of wires and cable connection was required. So that was entirely changed, or entirely it was eliminated, and we could use the small ICs and we could mount on the silicon surface, and we can call it as a chip. Initially when this was started, we could club or we could integrate fewer elements, or 10 to 20 components could be integrated. So that we call it as the small scale integration. And later on advancement took place, and we could club or we could integrate many components like 100 to 200 components we could club, and we started calling it as the medium scale integration. One more important point we need to remember regarding ICs is they were less expensive, so that we could manufacture them easily, and because of this nature we started using them more frequently, and there was a advancement in the technology and drastic change that took place. And because of these reasons, the size of the computer was entirely reduced, and which almost eliminated the wired connections and other things. Parallelly, the advancement also took place in terms of storage devices, like we had used the magnetic tapes in the earlier generation, but in this generation they started using magnetic disks, or and we could store large amount of information, like in terms of megabytes we could store the information. So to design random access memory or RAM, they started using the magnetic cores, and for the secondary storage device for larger capacity they started using the magnetic disks. Now let us take some examples and let us look into the computers of third generation. So if you clearly observe this, the size is entirely reduced, or it is totally minimized, and we can have the interactive systems, like we can have keyboard and monitors and other things, so we could easily interact with the computers, and that's why we call them as the mini computers, we can see. So when you compare the earlier generation, these computers are very small in size, and we started calling them as mini computers. Not only this reason, but also these computers were commercialized. Earlier computers were used for the specific purpose, like for defense systems or defense organizations or scientific calculations, but these computers were used for multitasking, and also for commercial purpose also they started using it, and people or small scale organizations could easily purchase these computers because they were less expensive. So this is all about the key hardware technologies that was used in the third generation. We basically use the integrated circuits, where we could club or we could integrate the different small components, like we call them as the microelectronics, like resistors, capacitors and ICs were clubbed on a single surface or a silicon chip, we can call, and initially they used only few components, so we called it as the small scale integration, and later on they started combining more elements or more components, so we call it as the medium scale integration, and they started using this magnetic cores for random access memory and for the primary memory, and they started using magnetic disks for the storage or permanent storage, and the computers were commercialized, and many of them were started using it, and we could call them as the mini computers. Now let us look into the software technologies that helped in commercializing the computers of third generation. Third generation computers were built using the time sharing operating system. So let me go back to the second generation, where we use the batch operating system, where it took a lot of time for the programmers and to get the results. So the objective of third generation computer was to minimize the processing and to get the results in very quick time, and also many users can communicate with the computer, and they could share the information. So time sharing operating system enables multiple users to get connected to the computer, and they can share the resources like hardware and other things. So don't worry about these operating system as of now, because we are going to study in detail about different types of operating systems and other things in the third unit. So I'm just briefing you about what is the time sharing operating system. And also they had in third generation we used multitasking operating system, like where a computer can do multiple tasks, like you can listen to a music and you can type something on your document and so on. So multitasking was also implemented in the third generation. The important thing that happened in this era was standardization of high level programming languages. So if you remember, we used the high level languages like Fortran, COBOL in the previous generation. So the same programming languages were used in this generation, but these languages were standardized by an organization called as ANSI, which stands for American National Standards Institute. So this is the organization that usually gives some standards to use these programming languages. Even our C programming language is also standardized by ANSI. So what is the basic meaning of standardization? So when we want to run or when we want to execute some program, in the earlier days it was not portable. That means if you write a particular instruction or if you write a particular program, that we could specifically, it was meant for only one single machine. But when we get a standardized version of any programming or a programming language, we can, once we write a program in one particular system, the same thing we can run in another system as well. Like you might be knowing about machine dependent and machine independent. So the earlier computers were machine dependent, but when we have this standardization, we can achieve the machine independent. So if you write a program in one particular computer, the same program you can execute in another computer. So the portability was made, and this ANSI organization gave us many features so that we could run the applications and we could design more softwares, and these softwares were commercialized. And next point we need to understand about is the unbundling of software from hardware. So earlier to 1965, computer manufacturers sold both hardware and software together. So for a user or for a customer, we felt that software is inbuilt with the hardware, so we never paid extra amount for the software. So both software and hardware we should get, in fact we would get as a whole. But later on they started separating it, software and hardware. That means if I'm using only a Fortran or if I'm using only COBOL, I need some translators. So whichever programming language I'm using, I would pay the amount for only that particular translator, so that I can avoid paying more amount to the manufacturers. So because of this, it was easy for the customer or the different organizations or the software developers to use it, and they could come up with new applications or they could design new softwares. So these are some of the important hardware and software advancement that took place in the third generation. Now let us understand the characteristics of third generation in more detail. So as you can see in this images, the size was reduced. Okay, so just by looking at these images, you can easily remember the points, or you can easily just understand the characteristics, and you can write it on your own. So for a student it will be easy to understand this, so no need to by heart these characteristics and so on. So just look into these images and you can easily get 2 to 3 characteristics on your own. So when you look into this, what you can understand, the size is reduced, the one thing, and because size is reduced, what will happen, it will consume less space, okay, as compared to the earlier generation. And also the maintenance will be reduced, because if you see in the earlier generation we used a lot of wires and cables, and we required almost 50 to 80 feet room. So all that was removed, and we could just keep it in a corner of a room. So these are the some basic characteristics you can write on your own. No need to by heart, and just try to understand things so that it will be easy for you. So the first and important characteristic is they were more powerful than the second generation computers, in the sense the processing speed was increased, and we could do almost like 1 million instruction per second. So that was the capability of the third generation computer, and also we could get accurate results and with greater speed compared to the first generation and second generation computers. Next is they were smaller and requiring small space. I could just with the image you can remember that, you can understand this, that they were very smaller, and we required very small space to keep the computer, or to place it at the, we could place it on just in the corner of a room. Next, they were more reliable and less prone to hardware failures. So if you compare the vacuum tubes, they were not reliable because they had the element called as filament, which could burn out, and we need to change them on regular basis, and maintenance was costly in the earlier generations, even in the case of second generation as well. So but the ICs were very small, and more components like resistors and transistors, capacitors, all were clubbed in a small surface, so hardware failure was reduced. We required very less maintenance. And next, they consumed less power and dissipated less heat than the second generation computer. So they consumed very less power or electricity compared to the earlier generation, and also the heat generated was generated in the third generation computer was less. Now the next characteristic is, as we have discussed, they use the memory core, and they use the magnetic disks. The memory size was increased, the primary memory, and became more faster, and through which we could execute the computation, and also their storage capability was increased compared to the second generation. Next, they were general purpose machines suitable for both scientific and commercial applications. So if you compare the earlier computers or earlier generation computers, they were meant for only one particular task, and the objective of the earlier computers was just to use for basic arithmetical operations and just for scientific applications. But these were commercialized, and also the price of these computers was reduced. So because of this, everyone could afford for these computers, and it actually gave birth for software industries, and many software companies started using the computers, and many other people started using the computers for designing the applications or for creating the softwares. And standardization of high level programming languages allowed programmers written for one computer to be easily ported to and execute on the another computer. As the ANSI standardized these programming languages like Fortran and COBOL and other high level languages. So if you write, or if you run up if you write a program in one particular computer, the same thing you can copy and paste it, or you can just put it in another computer and easily you could execute it. But in the earlier case, the programs were not, the programming languages were not standardized, and they were machine dependent. So if you write a program in one particular in one particular system or in one particular computer, you have to run in that computer itself, and if you try to execute in another computer, it might give some errors. But in third generation, the programming language were standardized, and we got the particular set of syntaxes and rules and regulation to use these programming languages, and so we could design more applications, and we could run the programs and in different computers as well, and we could easily port them from one computer to another computer. So it basically helped the programmers, and they reduced the time required in the earlier days. And also we use the time sharing operating system, and which allowed the interactive usage, so we could easily interact with the computer, and we could manage the things. And multitasking also was implemented in these computers, or in these generation. So these are the some important characteristics of third generation computers. And IBM was the main organization who designed these computers, and they had the series of IBM 370 and IBM 360, where most produced. I mean, they were manufactured, and they were commercialized, and people started using them. So some important abbreviations that we need to remember is IC, which stands for integrated circuits, and SSI, small scale integration, and MSI stands for medium scale integration, and ANSI. So this is the organization which standardized these high level programming languages like your Fortran, COBOL, and even the C programming or C language that we are using. It was also standardized by ANSI, so which stands for American National Standards Institute. So you will get to learn more about this when you study about C programming. So what are these C standards and ANSI standards? You will come to know about this. So this is all about the features and characteristics of third generation of computers. I hope all of you are following this. Thank you.